Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 19 of GT Masters, the review series for Gran Turismo's pretty decent selection of GT class race cars. And within this category we have quite a broad range of vehicles, some that are extremely fast, some that are not so much, some that are very niched, some that are very accessible and very obviously usable. This particular pick is a pretty popular choice of race car. It's the GTbyCitroen Race Car, and it's a car which a lot of people really like. It has a very strong following, but for me personally, although certainly not a bad car, isn't a race car that I tend to use that much. So what does it give you? Because although it has a strong following, there are certainly still a lot of people that have not purchased this car, mainly due to what I would say is this car's biggest downside, and its most obvious one: the price. This car costs 2.25 million credits, and there's no way of sugarcoating that. It's too much. It is not worth that price. I don't care what anyone tells you, I don't care how often anyone uses this car or how many races they've won with it. The kind of person who can win a race in this car is the exact same kind of person that could have won those very same races in an LMP car. And most of the LMPs are cheaper than this car. Now that being said, of course, you can't just put an LMP car into all GT class situations, so surely an argument is to be made that this is one of the best GT class cars, given that it is suggested to be on the same level as some of the LMPs in terms of competitiveness. Well, kind of, but still not really, because although it's a good GT class car, it has 984 horsepower, 637 foot-pounds of torque, weighs 1200 kilos, which isn't amazingly impressive to be honest, but certainly isn't overly heavy either, puts out 820 horsepower per tonne, and does have a very high PP of 680. So on paper, it certainly sounds the part. But in practice, I found this to be honest, a bit of an underwhelming car. The top speed is around 250 with a low aero package, which, although certainly isn't slow, is nowhere near as fast as the road version. Obviously it is running significantly more downforce than the road version with the wing, the diffuser, etc. But still, there are quite literally plenty of other race cars that can outrun this, not just LMPs, but GT class machines as well. The BMW Z4 GT3, the Zonda R, the FXX, and a variety of others within this same series can beat this car in a straight line. The acceleration is good, but again, certainly not class leading. It can outrun some LMPs such as the GTR Nismo, the Zytek, and the Toyota TS30 Hybrid if you have a long enough straight. But to be fair, how many circuits really require that? Not many. Most tracks are about handling, grip, and acceleration. So how does the car fare in that regard? Well, again, it's certainly not bad. The handling is a little bit tricky, but that's not surprising really, given that the road-going GTbyCitroen also has pretty tricky steering, especially over the front end. To some degree you can eliminate that from this car by adding carefully placed ballast, downforce and differential settings, but again, the amount of work that you have to put in to get this car to be as good as many other GTs already are just doesn't seem worth the price to me. If you buy a vehicle for around 500,000 credits or more than any of its main rivals, I don't want to have to then tune that car just to make it as good as they already are. To me that is not a good deal, especially when the car that you end up with is slower than many of them, both for acceleration and top speed, doesn't have particularly amazing handling, and at the end of the day is basically just eye candy. Now that it certainly is. It is a fantastic looking race car, possibly even the most convincing looking PD original race car in the game. But 2.2 million is still too much for looks. This is not a collector's piece, it's not a historically important car, given that it doesn't even exist in real life. So should you buy one? That's the big question. Well, I find it hard to say, to be honest, because from a sheer performance for the money, aka value, point of view, I would actually say no, because although it's certainly not a bad car, it's just not that amazing either. The handling is okay, the acceleration is okay, the top speed is nothing surprising. So, given that you can get similar, if not better, performance from, say, a 350,000 credit BMW Z4 GT3 or a 435,000 credit Mercedes SLS GT3, there's honestly no real need to pay that extra 1.6 million plus just for the sake of having a slightly more exclusive car. Is it a bad car? Certainly not. There are many people who swear by the GTbyCitroen Race Car. It's their go-to GT machine, and I own one myself. It's not a bad car. But I would only honestly suggest buying it if you're the kind of person who is bored, to be honest. If you've already bought most, if not all, of the other GT cars or cars that you want in general, and you're looking for something with a high price to save up for as your next goal, then it's a good car for that. Apart from that, it doesn't really give you anything that I can see that's any better than many of the other cars in this series can. And they do it for a lot less than 2.25 million credits. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of people who would disagree with me. As we said earlier on in this video, there are many people who absolutely love the GTbyCitroen Race Car, but those are just my thoughts, as always. And that's it, overall, for this particular review of the GTbyCitroen Race Car, which is, as we said earlier, a Polyphony Digital original race car, aka doesn't exist in real life. And I'll see you guys next time. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.